Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Variety Sports Network. This is the Next Left Turn Coca-Cola 373 and a half mile edition. Let's get it right there. How do you call a race when it's not at least 2/3 of the way done? Hold on. It's the 600-mile race. It's supposed to be the long one, the endurance race of the year, and we don't even get to the 400-mile mark, and you call the race? And everybody was off today, man. I get it. It's Memorial Day. It's a day of reverence for all of our fallen soldiers and their families, and I respect that 100,000%. They could have had the track cleared last night by 1 o'clock. There was an Xfinity race last year that ran at 1:30 in the morning or something. This is NASCAR. This is one of the crown jewels of the season. And this call gets made. NASCAR, bad call. Bad call for the fans, bad call for the drivers. I mean, hell, even if they wanted to pick it up this morning, they could have because they're in Charlotte. That's where everybody's based out of. Everybody could have gone home, got a quick 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and came back. We could even ran at 10 o'clock this morning. Nobody would care. But, yeah, sorry. Had to get that off my chest. Because, unfortunately for me, where I'm at in Missouri, I missed the first 218 laps anyways because of the bad weather we had coming through. So I didn't get to see any of it until like 2 hours ago. Very different vibe from last night when we covered the Indy 500, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you who showed up for that show, thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. I got to geek a little bit about my childhood and growing up with the 500. But I am Josh Edwards. Aaron's back with me again, pulling double duty this week. Special edition of the Next Left Turn. Aaron, how are you today? How was your Memorial Day? How'd it go, buddy?
Well, I had the same sentiment as you from yesterday because I said it on the Indy show, so go check that one out. It was me, you, and Darren from Fat Boy Fadeaway Sports. It's also on 7th Inning Stretch. Check that out on Variety Sports Network. But like the rain delay for the Indy 500 just threw a monkey wrench into everything I was trying to do yesterday. And then the fact that I caught at least 100 laps, like, all right, cool. So by the time we got done Indy, I could probably watch the rest of it. No, rain delay. And I was like, okay, all right, like that's fine. You know, I had it up on my TV as I'm doing this. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, we're just going to call it. And I'm like, dang, I feel bad for the fans down in Charlotte. They paid tickets for this. I'm pretty sure this is
hours.
Yeah.
No, I mean, okay, so let's before we actually get into the content of the Coca-Cola 373 and a half, let's talk a little bit about Kyle Larson. I know we did quite a bit last night, but for those of you who weren't tuned in for the Indy 500 coverage last night, Kyle Larson made an attempt to pull double duty. There was a massive rainstorm that came through Indianapolis yesterday. It actually hit Missouri in the morning, then hit Indianapolis right before or right around when the green flag was supposed to drop, delayed the start of the race from what was supposed to be 11:30 my time.
Yeah.
Or no, it'd been 10:30 my time. It started at 3:44 my time was when the green flag actually dropped. So there was no way Kyle was going to make it for the start of the Coca-Cola, what was supposed to be 600 miles. And it kind of ruined his day. You could tell he was a little upset, but he was dedicated to the 500, didn't know when he's going to get to come back and do that again. I'd almost guarantee he's there next year. To actually pull this thing off and go down the record books. So Justin Allgaier had to start the race for him at the 600. He ended up finishing 18th in Indy. I think he had like 17 minutes between the time he got out of the Indy car to the time he hopped on a chopper to get to the airport, to then hop in a plane, to get to the airport in Charlotte, to hop in another chopper to get to the racetrack in Charlotte. And by the time he shows up, the rain had followed him from Indianapolis and he brought it to Charlotte with him. So I guess
so let's play Kyle Larson. Let's play Hendrick Motorsports and playing Kyle Larson. Goes, what an ass. Like, how dare you?
But, I mean, Kyle Larson had a really good run for his first Indy 500. He had a couple bumps and mistakes, things that you can't prepare for unless you've been in those kind of cars on that track in racing conditions, even with as many laps as he turned in practice and qualifying and getting used to the car, which it showed. He learned so much in those Indy cars, and he ran phenomenally up there at Indy. Just a couple small mistakes cost him valuable track position. I mean, he was in the top 10 for the majority of the race, got himself in a little bit of trouble on pit road, and he ended up finishing 18th. But, you know, kudos to him for doing that. That's an extremely difficult thing to do, going from a stock car to an open wheel car. Granted, Kyle Larson races like 340 days a year out of 365, I think. It's something ridiculous. His wife made a joke about it. In an interview I watched with Jamie Little, I believe, or Danica Patrick. It was an interview with Danica Patrick, I believe. So or Danica talked about it from a text message conversation. Anyways, it was Danica Patrick. I'm sorry. But he races all the time. He does dirt track racing. He drives karts. I mean, he knows open wheel cars, but the Indy car is something all of its own. The Indy 500 blew out the Monaco GP race yesterday, by the way. That's all I saw on X
Nice.
last night and this morning was people were like the last 2 laps of the 500 were better than the entire Monaco GP race. Kurt Busch was actually there. Kenny Wallace wanted to be there, says it's on his bucket list, but that's neither here nor there. We'll cover that another time. But again, congratulations, Kyle Larson, on attempting to do something that hasn't been done since Kurt Busch tried it in 2000.
Oh, yeah.
And then Tony Stewart and Robbie Gordon did it a few times, and John Andretti did it a few times before. But let's get to the shortened NASCAR's stupidly shortened Coca-Cola 600 that turned into the 373.5-mile race. And I've got more to complain about than just this guy's tonight. I know I'm usually a happy guy and everything, but I got a little burnt yesterday by the NASCAR organization. I'm sure we'll be fine this week. We're racing at WWT this weekend. I'm excited for that race because it's a little bit different of a track. But Coca-Cola 600. Aaron, you were excited for this one, right? Because I was excited for this race. I mean,
I'm always excited for it. Something always happens in the 600. And it's always near the last, 50 laps. Always something. But I'm always looking forward to this one.
It's one of those great races. It's one of the long races. It's the most closest thing NASCAR gets to an endurance race. Yeah, it's only an extra 100 miles, but the wear and tear on the body for that extra 100 miles, I mean, that's tough. And this is where you see the veterans and I picked Truex Jr. to win this race. He was my pick for this just because he runs well here. He knows how to run this track. He's good in long distance races. And he never got a shot. He was up there for the majority of the race. He had a beautiful looking car as well. And we had a lot of cool paint schemes. I'll give him that. We had a lot of cool paint schemes for Memorial Day. We always do. NASCAR goes ahead and puts ranks and names of not lost. That's not the right word to say because I don't want to offend anybody. Soldiers who have fallen in the line of duty on their cars, and they're recognized, and they do this cool thing where like the halfway mark, they come in and they shut everything off. They do a moment of silence in the middle of the race. I mean, the cars are shut off. Everything stops. And that was probably the coolest part of getting to watch last night's race was you could have heard, if there was a microphone near it, a pin drop in that racetrack last night. It was dead silent. It was awesome. One of the most reverent and respectful things you get to see in motorsports. I mean, it was a touching moment. You know, I didn't serve. My grandfather served, and you know they didn't die serving. But you know, I have a great deal of respect for our military veterans, and especially the ones who gave the ultimate sacrifice so that we can sit here and do podcasts and watch racing and hockey and baseball and football and BS all the time, and gave us those young men who gave up the opportunities to have families and be fathers so that we can be. So I do want to give a big shout out to all those families who had good men and women in them who had died too soon in service to us. And I encourage everybody to go out and be an American worth dying for. That's something that I very much believe in and preach privately, but I got no problem saying it, especially on a day like today. So we're going to get in the Coca-Cola 600 now. I've gotten a little bit of my rant off my chest.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, so Justin Allgaier got to start for Kyle Larson in this race, and which means that Kyle Larson, if he would have gotten a drive and would have won the race, he wouldn't have gotten the win. Allgaier would have. He would have gotten no points for himself. But it was important for Kyle to be there because it was a personal achievement, and it's a historical achievement to run both races. So let's give credit where it's due. But Ty Gibbs and William Byron were starting on the pole here, and at the very start of the race, Tyler Reddick had to do a drive-through penalty for a pre-qualifying inspection failure on Saturday. So he had to drop to the rear, make not a pit stop, but do a drive-through penalty to start the race. So that definitely set him back and reset the race. For him, he did have a very strong race, though. He was up there at the end. Well, at what ended up being the end, he was near the front. But the green flag drops, and Gibbs is clearing the turn one, and he's just gone. He wins the battle with William Byron. I got a nice little clip here. We don't have a whole lot of clips tonight, but we got some. So I want to start off with this one because this is the start of the race.
The Coca-Cola 600 is underway.
Man, what a
And
difference
he
from
gone.
Indy 500 to this, the sounds of
I
the
know, right?
cars.
I do love the sounds of NASCARs, but man, those Indy cars just do something different to you. But clear start right off the bat. He just took off and he had control. His car was set up for this race. His team did a fantastic job getting him ready to go. I mean, he was dominant. I mean, for the whole first 50 something laps till they got to the first set of green flag pit stops. I mean, he was just out there rolling. So there's really nothing that goes on. There's a lot of good, clean passing, a lot of 2 wide, some 3 wide passing. You saw a couple moments where guys kind of touched doors a little bit, but nobody got too loose and crazy. Nobody hit the wall and caused any major accidents in the beginning of the race. But it was good racing. It was a lot of passing. It was a lot of using the draft. We have to be honest. As much as we have complained about this 7th gen car, these cars were obviously, and it's been well noted, that they were designed for 1.5-mile track races. And they do not let you down in these races. At least that's my opinion. I don't know what you think, Aaron. I mean, I think they're good on the super speedways too, but they just seem so much more fun to watch on the 1.5-mile tracks. Have you noticed
Yeah.
that, or am I just kind of out here on an island?
No, you're not here. I'll be on the island with you. No, I definitely agree with it because we did have concerns with these new cars in the beginning of the season. We weren't sure how they're going to hold up, and so far on these long distance tracks, they've been doing pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, they're a lot of fun to watch. I'm disappointed that they don't perform this well at all the tracks. And that for me is a letdown. I mean, I'm at the point right now where I'm like, go back to the cars from the 90s. No technology in them. The engine, the driver, that's what it is. It's the engine, the driver, and the team. Just let them go. And I know those cars aren't the safest, so maybe you can implement some of the safety factors to them. But I mean, all these extra things they got on the cars, it's so hard for me to learn and keep up. But
Or even go back to the old Casey Kane cars right there in the early 2000s, mid
dude,
2000s, I
the
guess.
car of tomorrow was horrible. It was horrible. Well, I guess that's not the car of tomorrow because the car of tomorrow had
No.
the weird spoiler on the back.
Yes, this is
It
not
looked
it.
like it was one of the GT.
Yeah,
cars.
yeah, no, this is before I think Casey joined up with Hendrick.
Guy had. Well, I don't know. Number 9, the 9 car. I don't know, man. You'd have. That's your guy. That's not my guy. So I don't know. And you still root for the number 9 guy now. So I mean, I think you got a thing for the number 9, to be honest.
Oh, actually, I was never a Casey Kane fan. I just put him on here.
Oh,
But I knew who he was. I started off as Greg Biffle, 16 car
that's
for
right.
the
That's right. You
longest.
were. Yeah. Well, didn't he also end up driving a Kane drove a Dodge too, didn't he?
I believe so.
He drove the number 9 Dodge Charger or whatever it was back in the day. Anyways, that's a little bit of history note there that we're not sure about. I don't like him in the Budweiser car though. I see that car and I see that paint scheme and I think Junior.
Yeah.
I just think Junior. And I know it wasn't even Junior way back when I was a kid, but my mind instantly goes to Junior. So again, good clean racing for the first 50 laps. Nothing really goes on. Just a lot of good passing. It was a fun to watch. Not a whole lot back and forth up front, but second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th, 15th. I mean, it was good racing in the middle of the field all the way back. We get through that first cycle of pit racing or pit stops, excuse me, and Gibbs cycles back to the front. Byron is with him the whole way, though. Byron looks strong in this race. Gibbs looks strong in this race. It looked like it was going to be a 2-car shootout for the longest time. As I was getting to watch it. As soon as Gibbs kind of gets in the track, he's in about like early to the mid 70s is laps where he starts really working through heavy traffic, and Byron starts really catching up on him, closes the gap, and Byron finally gets around him. It's a good pass, clean pass, nothing crazy there. But again, it's just good, clean racing for that whole first stage. We didn't have any accidents. There was no major drama, just good, clean, fair racing, which is something that we talked about a little bit yesterday for Indy, and it was something that Joseph Newgarden gave Pato O'Ward a ton of credit for. He raced him clean the whole way, and Pato O'Ward could have taken him out, could have won that race, but because Pato O'Ward raced it clean, it was a good ending, and that's how Joseph got the win. And we saw a lot of that transpire into last night's race with NASCAR, where I thought we were going to see more rubbing and racing. I thought Kyle Busch was going to be on more of a tear after what happened last week with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I thought maybe even Stenhouse might get into it, but after that unnecessary $75,000 fine he got, which was, I mean,
That was crazy.
absolutely insane.
Insane.
NASCAR went out and marketed that fight all week long, got all the clicks, all the publicity, and then you find the guy who threw the punch 75,000, maybe 25 grand for a physical altercation like that because they didn't like square off and he just kind of cold cocked him, which personally I enjoyed it. I thought it was good for NASCAR, but $75,000. Chase Elliott got asked about it. He thought it was excessive. Joey Logano got it. He kind of danced away from it. He was like, "Whoa, he didn't really want to speak about it because he tries to be as clean as can be with everybody with his reputation, and I understand that. But golly, so I don't know if we'll see anything from Stenhouse the rest of the year. But I thought Kyle Busch, after his comments about being tired of getting ran over, I thought he was going to be more on a tear and go back to being rowdy, and he didn't. I'll give him credit. He didn't resort to his immature days. Would have been more fun that way. But
he doesn't like the team that he's on, so he can't express himself.
Yeah, which him being him with the money he has, you'd think he would just be an open book. But again, that's something else. I'm sure that's going to resurface sometime later in the season, probably as we get closer to the playoffs if he's not in it or he's on the outside looking in. So I'm sure that'll come up later. So we'll save that for later in the season. We do finally get a caution in stage one right before the end of lap 87. BJ McLeod, who we haven't seen much this year because he sold his charter at the end of last year, so he's only running a part-time schedule this year. He just loses it and spins out and brings out a caution. Byron leads the field to pit lane at this point for the pit stops, and Gibbs had that front spot, and he beats him off pit lane and regains the lead going into the last. Though. Oh, dude, it was real close.
Coming off that cliff. I was like, whoo.
What is it? Is it 18 feet? There's how big the pit boxes are?
I believe so,
Makes the difference. 16, 18 feet, it's something like, I know it's not 20. I know it's just under 20. But that made the difference for him. He got out there and got out front. Green flag drops, and Gibbs and Byron are side by side for the lead. And this time Byron takes off and gets the lead from him. And he holds on for 6 laps, whatever it is, and he gets stage 1 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. So we're 100 laps in, which we're going to get into stages here because I got another gear to grind here. But William Byron wins stage 1. Ty Gibbs gets second. Bowman's in third. He had a good car all day, it looked like, too. Christopher Bell was really quietly good, I felt like, in the first stage. Martin Truex Jr., again, he's always good at this track. He was up there. Bubba Wallace with another good showing in the first stage. Ryan Blaney, the defending champion of this race, got 7th in stage 1. Brad Keselowski, who RFK has been on a tear the last 4 to 5 races. If it's not Keselowski, it's been Buescher. And Buescher, we know, got screwed 2 races in a row. Not screwed, but just really, really bad luck 2 races in a row. Keselowski got the first win for Ford this year a couple weeks back. Josh Berry in 9th, and then Michael McDowell got 10th. Michael McDowell did do the strategy game. We see it every week. Somebody does it every week. Stays out there longer in hopes of caution coming out. And, when he went in, he was in first. When he came back out, he cycled to 11th. And he started the race at 11th. So it never really hurt him. Like, his strategy didn't hurt him. It didn't help him, but it didn't hurt him. And oftentimes we do see this strategy not go well for you early in the race. This time it worked out. He got 10th, so he got stage pointed there at the end. We get to stage 2 or going into stage 2, and they go to hit pit lane again. I mean, a lot of these cars only have 8 or 9 laps on the tires, but Byron leads most, and I say most, of the leaders down to pit lane. And Ty Gibbs here pulls, I call it an Earnhardt move because it was deceiving. He acts like he's going to pit lane, and he fakes and jumps back out, and he stays on the track so he can take the lead. And when the green flag drops to start stage 2, it's Ty Gibbs and it's Ross Chastain, the Watermelon Man. And you're thinking something good's going to happen. And Chastain is side by side with Gibbs, and you think Gibbs is going to end up winning it because his car has been so strong off the restarts, but Chastain pulls it off on the outside of turn 2. So a little bit unconventional, not something we always see, but there was a little bit more rubber on the track at this point. They had run some laps, so the grip was there. I'm sure the speed was there as well, or obviously it was because Chastain pulled it out. At this point, what are you feeling at this point in the race? Who are you seeing making the moves? Is there anybody at this point who's let you down, or where were you kind of at this point in the race?
No, I think everybody was kind of just doing what they needed to do so far after the first stage. I thought that Bubba Wallace was going to do something a little bit more because he actually, like you said, he finished at, what was it, 6th in stage 1. So I figured he was probably going to make a nice big push. I don't know if this happened during the second stage, but since you mentioned Earnhardt move, the William Byron when he went on the grass to take the lead, I think it was
That's in
Kevin
stage 2,
Harvick.
I think.
It was stage 2. Okay, yeah. I just thought because you said Earnhardt move, and I was like, oh yeah, that kind of was. I thought that was pretty dope by Byron, but
I got that somewhere.
yeah, I think it was Boyer who said it or something like that. But no,
Yeah, I got
I
that clip
mean,
somewhere there.
and I loved how Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse were back to back on each other. I think Busch was 32nd and Stenhouse was 33rd in the first stage. So I was like, all right.
It's you kind of thought you were gonna see something, but you knew they both had gotten warnings. Like NASCAR came out and said if you kind of like that scene from Days of Thunder. If you two trade paint one more time in my cars, I'm gonna tear those cars apart. Or he says something about a Japanese inspection where they leave the lettuce on the dock until it rots and there's nothing to inspect. He's gonna tear the cars apart that bit. Anyways, I'm figuring that's the kind of speech they got before the race. But I mean, it was very clean race. It was very slow. Bell starts working up around lap 110, 112, something like that. He works up and he's working on Gibbs at this point, and he gets underneath him and gets into second place. And this is where Bell to me looked like the car just came in for him. It looked like he found his rhythm. Bell has had his, if you can remember the start of the season, he was just there all the time at the beginning of the year. Then he had like 5 races in a row where he wasn't there, and he kind of got himself back in the mix, and then he fell off again. Well, it was like the more he ran on this car at this track, the better he got. So I think he's definitely going to be that 1.5 mile to 2 mile track guy. I think that's his sweet spot and where he's most comfortable, or where they get those car subs the best. But Toyota was on a tear this week. I mean, at one point you had all four of the Gibbs cars in first, third, fourth, and fifth in stage 1. They were just dominant again. They have reestablished this 1.5 mile dominance that they had earlier in the year, and I feel like they're going to give Hendricks a run by the end of the season.
They're probably stealing playbooks from Hendricks or something.
Well, I mean, they could be. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to make that accusation. I don't want them coming after me for that. But as we continue on, Bell eventually gets up to Chastain and off turn 4, and he makes a run on him. And this goes back to the fact that Bell pitted and Chastain stayed out for that track position. And those fresher tires were just enough for Bell to get around, and he really just drives away with the lead. We're getting close to like 150, so we're getting close to another set of pit stops. And the pit stops actually already started. They started like at 144, 145, the green flag cycle. And Ryan Blaney ends up coming in with his team. And they must have had some kind of mistake, because he's driving around the track. Like, he had just gotten back out on the track, and it looks like he blows a tire, but he doesn't blow a tire. The wheel splits.
Yes.
The wheel splits in half. And I got a video here to show you guys. You're actually going to see on the right front side of the hood, you're going to see it kind of pop up a little bit. That's when the wheel explodes and he ends up in the wall. Does enough damage that he's out of the race. But let's take a look at that clip here real quick for y'all. And here we go. There it is. You hear it. That wasn't the tire. That was the wheel separating on the inside. In an interview,
they said it too. Like when he was in the pit, they were pretty much like, "Yeah, he's pretty much done."
Well, when they pulled it off, you saw only part of the wheel came off, and then the tire was stuck in there, and it was a whole 9 yards. But when they interviewed him after he cleared the medical, he was like, "I don't really know what happened." He goes, "I don't know if I hit something. The tire just went." He goes, "We're gonna go back and look at it." And I'm sitting there going, "Dude, Harvick and Biffle already told us what happened, so yeah, you need to go look at that clip." But it was unfortunate for him. His car wasn't great. He said they were still trying to figure it out. He felt like the car was getting better at that point, but not good enough to get through that issue there.
Yeah, he's had a rough time these past few weeks.
Penske in general has. If you really want to look at it, like Cindric is Cindric. He only runs good at Daytona. But Logano just, he won the All-Star race and got the money, which is good for him. But outside of that, he hasn't had a good points finish recently. And Blaney's just getting nickel and dimed, it seemed like, left and right. Either he's sneaky quiet and he ends up in the top 10, or something's going wrong and he's getting tossed out. So it's unfortunate for him. Being the defending champion, it's good for NASCAR when the defending champion's in it, because you got that defense going in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the season. Penske does seem to get better the second half of the season. I don't know if it's the tracks or it's just how much they learn from week in and week out, but we'll see how that goes for Penske. But at lap 153, we finally get through the green flag pit cycles, and Bell is back up in the lead, but Bubba Wallace has now made his charge. He's only behind by like 2 seconds. He's coming along, and we know these are the kind of tracks that Bubba Wallace does excel at. He's always there at the end. He's becoming a better short track racer. He's becoming a better superstar or super speedway racer. But these are the tracks that are kind of his bread and butter. And that 2311 team is putting good cars together. I mean, it helps that Denny Hamlin's one of the co-owners and he drives for Gibbs. So we've talked about this before too. I'm sure he's bringing some information over from time to time, but he's not giving them everything because he doesn't want to lose himself. But Bubba Wallace is getting up there and he's making a charge. And then all of a sudden, a caution comes out. And it's for Blaney. Because the pit crew could not push his car out of the pit box and get it out back. So NASCAR had to throw a flag to bring a wrecker on pit road to get Blaney's car to the back. At this point, you see most of the cars come down after they get Blaney's car off of pit road. Most of the cars come down for a pit stop, and Gibbs again that front spot wins the race off pit road, but he only took 2 tires at this point in the stage because he had pretty fresh tires and they were less than halfway there. They had less than half of the stage to go left through. Martin Truex Jr. and 3 others stayed out at this point. Josh Berry was one of them because it was Truex Jr. and Berry to start the green flag at the green flag drop after the caution.
Did you like that Josh Berry up in front there? With
dude,
Truex?
I'm down with it. Like,
I was like, oh, okay, rookie.
So I jumped on the Josh Berry train last year when he started filling in for Chase when Chase was out, and I was like, man, this kid's something, you know. And I was super excited when he signed with Stewart Haas because I was like, good, he's gonna have another young driver he can mentor and mold into something. And he's had a really rough year. It seems like he's either been not competitive, but he's been there, or it's just bad luck left and right. And Stewart Haas has had a really rough year. I mean, there's rumors that they're going to sell the team next year and get rid of all the charters. I don't know if you've seen that. I saw it this week.
That's interesting.
And there's all kinds of rumors about Chargers changing this offseason, like Trackhouse combining with somebody else. Stewart Haas might sell their charters. I've seen something about Penske and the Wood brothers. I know they work together on building engines, but I've heard other things that I don't trust because the source for me is not reliable. But we'll see what happens. But this is important for Josh Berry to have a good second half of the year to make sure he's going to ride next year. And I don't know how all the technicals work out there. I don't know all the business side. I'm not going to pretend to. But I'm sure if Stewart Haas were to sell the team and sell his charters, that means the 4 drivers that drive for Stewart Haas would be looking for rides. But again, I don't know how that works. Aaron, if you do, please enlighten me.
Your guess is as good as mine.
All right, cool. So if somebody wants to hop in the comments and they know, that's great. Fill me in here. Because as you guys know, as I said at the start of the season, the first 3 or 4 races, I'm relearning NASCAR as we go through the season. I mean, I know a lot from when I was a kid, but the cars are totally different now. The rules are totally different. I didn't grow up with stage racing, and frankly, it's growing on me, but I didn't like the stages in this race. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. But let's get back to it. Barry gets into the back of Byron off turn 2 after the restart. And this is a little bit after the restart. And he hooks Byron a little bit. Byron does a fantastic job saving the car. I got a little clip of that here. Let me make sure I got the right one here. Oh, yes. This has got to be it right here. Yeah, it is. This isn't dirty racing. This is just racing. It happens. Byron makes a great save with Josh Berry giving a little bump, but here we go.
And did you see Byron really hook that ball? Speaking of hook.
Yeah, Josh Berry had a big run off the top, and they just made contact.
He hit the wall
That
hard.
got that 24 car in the
That's a
fence.
nice number 9 right there.
Might look at a tooling problem there.
I don't like that paint scheme for him.
Nah, that's a little
More
weird.
contact. Ty
Three
Gibbs
wide.
into Berry, and Denny Hamlin takes advantage on the inside
Beautiful 3-wide racing there.
for the lead. Chase Elliott, first car on fresh tires. But Martin Truex has them too. Here
go,
comes
Martin!
Truex around the outside.
This was
Well,
most
we
of the
talked about
race.
both
It
of
was
these
a lot of
guys
it,
all day.
and it was fantastic.
I think it was only like 3 cautions, I believe, 3 or 4. That was pretty low.
3 real
But then again,
cautions.
we didn't even get to finish the race, so who knows?
Oh, you're gonna get me fired up again. You're gonna get me all fired up again. You don't want to do that yet. So yeah, that didn't bring out a caution. Everything was fine there. Good, clean racing for the most part. Byron makes a nice save, keeps racing. Like you saw just after that, because it's all part of that clip. Elliott starts working on Truex Jr. and they kind of go back and forth. Byron ends up getting up into second after all that. And then 2 laps later, Byron gets a run on Elliott in turn 1, and Byron takes the lead. So it was a really exciting 3 laps there. I couldn't find a clip of all 3 laps together to show up, but I wanted to because it was just all sequential there. It was good racing. Again, what you saw there where they were running side by side, that was most of what stage 1 was and what most stage 2 was, because you didn't have a whole lot of accidents. But shortly after that, and when I say shortly, like 2 laps later, Noah Gragson gets turned up and he slams the wall and brings out a caution. I got the in-car videos for this one. You guys know I like showing these. It's actually him and Stenhouse get together for this one. And we'll take a look. Stenhouse is on the bottom and Gragson's on top here for this one, guys. I had it backwards. My fault. Small bump sends him down. It's kind of a fun accident, man. I mean, he spins around. He got some major right front damage there from when he hit the wall. But he got down there. They cut off the front fender and put a new tire on it and sent him back out. Again, I didn't get to watch most of the race, so I had only got to watch highlights because of the rain delays and everything that was going on out here. And I got to fill in a little bit, just like 25 minutes before we started the show. But so that brings out a caution. I don't think there's any pit stops there because we were so close to the end of the stage. But we get back up to here like the last 10, 12 laps, and Bell is coming out and just showing the dominance. The car never went away for him. The car just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. He gets a run on Byron, and he actually crosses him in turn 1 and takes him, which was a nice move. I love the cross move. I think it's it's probably because of Days of Thunder, because that's the move in Days of Thunder, and Earnhardt did it all the time when I was a kid growing up. It's just one of those nice. It's one of those nice race moves to watch. I mean, is there a move you like better in racing?
Not really. I think that one pretty much sums it up. But I don't really have like a favorite move. But I was just looking up for the Stewart-Haas racing we were talking about earlier. So it looks like once they sell it off, whoever buys the charters and all that, I guess that's where the driver will go to.
Okay.
So it looks like Front Row, obviously 2311, Trackhouse, Legacy have been linked to buying a charter from Stewart-Haas. But I guess it is going to be pretty much final that Stewart-Haas will not be there in 2025.
That hurts my heart. I guess Tony's going to work on his drag racing instead. I guess he'd rather.
That's what, yeah, because he was pretty excited about that on the Dale Jr. download. He was talking about it. Yeah,
they're doing really, really well over there. So, I mean, I'm not mad about it, but I mean, I hope Trackhouse picks him up then, because I've kind of jumped on the Trackhouse train. So again, Bell gets back in the lead. There's 5 to go, and then Harrison Burton spins out, and I don't have a clip of this one, but he spun out all by himself.
Yeah, that one was weird. Yeah, like I think who was in back of him? I think number 47. It was the 47 out there.
That'd be Stenhouse.
Be Stenhouse. It might have been, but I could be wrong. But someone wasn't back of him. They just kind of like boop, and then he like just spun out.
See, I don't even know if he got touched. Looking at the replay I saw, it looked like he was by himself, and the right front blew, and then the car hooked to the left, and then he broke a tie rod or something in the rear end, because as he was driving down the track, he looked like a crab because the car was going sideways after he recovered. So he might have gotten bumped. I only got to see it once. Again, the weather screwed everything up for me, so my visuals for this weren't as good. I had to read a lot about this. So that happens with that caution coming out. That ends stage 2. Christopher Bell ends up getting stage 2. William Byron finishes second. Bubba Wallace third. Denny Hamlin as always, that sneaky old man's up there. He finishes 4th in stage 2. Brad Keselowski 5th, Alex Bowman 6th, Chase Elliott 7th, Josh Berry 8th, Ross Chastain 9th. He fell back a little bit there. That was that risk of staying out and not taking tires. And then Tyler Reddick, who got the penalty at the beginning of the race, ends up getting stage points and finishes 10th in stage 2. So you got, just let me look at this real quick. We got Toyota, Chevy, Toyota, Ford, Chevy, Ford, Chevy, Toyota. Toyota and Chevy, again, dominating the 1.5 mile tracks. Ford's getting there. Like, you can see that the Ford teams are figuring it out. They're bringing a little bit more competition week in and week out now. Like, they're picking it up the last 3 to 4 weeks, but they're still not there on these bigger tracks. I don't know if they're going to get it figured out by the end of the season. I mean, we're at the halfway mark now. Hopefully they do, because they're getting smashed, absolutely destroyed in manufacturing points. Stage 3. And this is where it all goes to hell in a handbasket, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, NASCAR is more concerned about Kyle Larson getting to the track. I'm just going to be honest. The coverage was,
It's pretty factual.
He's on his way. He'll be here in 15 minutes. Oh, his helicopter landed. Okay. Oh, he's hit the track. Oh, now they got him on a golf cart running around the track while racing's going on. Like, we understand you're waiting for Larson to get there. And then, in the middle of all this, you drop that the drivers have been told that there may be weather coming. And so then the drivers are going to get crazy. So we're looking for some fun stuff. And we get a little bit of it, but not much. So the green flag drops for stage 3, and it's Bell and Byron again up front. These two cars have been there all day. They're side by side for the lead, and they stay side by side for a while. They really do. Bell finally works on Byron and gets him out off the inside lane. And then Corey LaJoie spins out by himself in lap 229.
Yeah, that was a lot, and he's had a pretty bad season too. I think he did all right the first 2 weeks, but ever since then, he's either been spinning out, getting in wrecks. Like, he has just not had a good year this year.
Well, he finished one race sliding down the side of the car.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because remember that one, which track? I don't even know which track it was, but literally sliding down the driver's side of the car across the start-finish line to finish the race, which is cool, and he wasn't hurt, which is even better. But, yeah, he's just been having a rough year. So that obviously brings out a caution. At this point, Keselowski has moved up. And it's now Bell and Keselowski. And they kind of go at it, but Bell takes the lead, and he goes. And then all of a sudden, we've got competition. And this is like at lap 240. I've got a clip out here that's really close to that time. And this is actually, I'm going to do 2 clips for you back to back. We're going to run one. This is Keselowski getting held off by Bell, and then I'm going to run the pass that we were talking about earlier, the Dale Earnhardt pass. But let me get this one up here. Golly, my technical difficulties.
Yeah, surprisingly, for a short race, we have a lot to talk about, which is great. Because I was definitely a little fumed that they called it during the our Indy 500 show.
I was a little upset about that. Here we go. This is Bell holding off Keselowski on the restart. And this is going to lead
up
us
on the outside. Comes Ty Gibbs on the bottom. The help all dispersed on that outside. Big time deteriorated.
All right, we're going to see what happens here. Because my thing is just not. Guys, I'm sorry. My computer's doing funny things right now. I can't get to stop. I don't know what happened. Can you hear that? No? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, cool.
I thought you were just still searching. I was just like, all right.
No, my computer just literally froze, so I didn't know if I was still with you. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen. Technical difficulties do happen from time to time. Let me get back to this next clip because it is there. I just have to find it. And this, like I said, this is the move we were talking about that we wanted to show you. This is the Dale Earnhardt move. This is William Byron going for it here. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And you'll notice that Bell's not even in the picture here. This is the 2 monster cars, the Beast car and the monster car. They kind of bang a little bit And this is what gives Byron the chance to make the move, and the move's just gorgeous. It's quick clip.
Yeah, and you see contact right there. Gibbs into the fence.
And here comes a crossover into
the grass.
In the grass. Pass the ball, pass in the grass, baby. How about that?
That was awesome.
Yeah,
That was easily the move of the race. That was
Absolutely.
the move of the race. Definitely a throwback, like we said, to Earnhardt. It's a dangerous move, man. I mean, you just put a couple tires to that grass at that speed in a turn where you're not straight. That's
Shake and bake.
let's go, baby. I mean, he was all out. And again, at this point, they've been told that the weather's coming. They've been told the weather's coming. So everybody's putting it on the line because they don't know what's going to happen. But Byron runs through both of them, and then he runs to the grass, and that was to take third. So that wasn't even for the lead. That was for third place. So Bell was actually out in front there. 9 laps later, rain starts falling. Oh, and guess who shows up to the track and he's running to the pit box? Kyle Larson. And he was jogging. Like they got him on a little golf cart, and he's jogging through, and he's in the same race suit he was at for the 500, which is fine. No big deal. He was basically in the same paint scheme for the IndyCar race. And at this point, the race gets red flagged due to lightning. And then we have a long wait. Now, if the race would have been continued and Larson would have gotten in the car, he would have had to drop back to the rear of the field for the driver change. And he would have had to work his way all the way back up. Now, and that's because it was during a red flag. If it would have happened just during a caution, then from my understanding, he would not have had to drop back to the rear of the field. Is that how you understood too?
Yeah, that's how I understood it. I thought I was dumb and couldn't figure it out how they were saying it, but yeah, no, that's exactly what I thought too.
I might have it backwards, but in one of those two situations, he had to drop back to the back of the field, and the other one he got to resume the spot where Allgaier was at. And Allgaier ran a good race, man. He
finished pretty good for being a substitute driver,
and he's never run a 7th gen car.
Yeah,
that was the first time he'd been in a 7th gen car. He got no practice in it. He didn't qualify in the car, so he had to start from the back anyways. I mean, and he worked his way up. I don't think he qualified in. I think he was from the back, but regardless, Allgaier ran a fantastic job as a sub and kept Hendricks in it and put Larson in a position where if the race would have continued, he would have been sitting A-okay and had a chance to win it. Now, let me tell you what's grinding my gears, man. I don't like stage racing as is. This is my only beef with NASCAR as of right now, outside of a few things with the cars, but those, again, the cars change year to year. Why the heck does this race get 4 stages? Because from what I can tell in all the races that we've watched so far this year, the first stage and the second stage are a little shorter and the third stage is longer. Now, I understand this is a 400-lap race, but even like at the short tracks, it's still 3 stages. So why would you go 100, 100, 100, 100? You got no strategy there for fuel. You know you're going to have to pit stop at least once in every stage, fine, whatever. But they have 12 sets of tires. And fuel wasn't going to be the issue here because you could get 55 laps on a tank of fuel. So I have a suggestion, NASCAR. If our loyal friends can share this, change the rules for next year. Go to 3 stages. Stage 1, 75 laps. That's basically like let's see how the car is running, make the adjustments we need. Stage 2, you make that one 100. And then stage 3, 225 laps of real racing. It's a big race. It's a crown jewel. Let these drivers and these teams do what they used to do best, which was strategy with tires and fuel. Make it more interesting. I mean, you're going to have enough cautions here anyways in this race to where they should be able to get fuel and tires, and it shouldn't be as big of an issue. But if you can get long green flag racing, that's what we love to see. These pit crews work their butts off, and we got to see this last week at the All-Star competition with the pit crews. These guys work so hard to be excellent and do the work on the cars in less than 10 seconds. What's it matter if they're doing it that fast if they're always doing it under a caution? There's no pressure. Make them run one long segment for this race and with the hopes of that making sure that there's going to be some green flag pit stops in the third stage that may challenge the race and bring some more drama to the race, for God's sake. But on a 600-mile race, you should have to run at least 400 miles. Making it halfway to call the race is absolutely insane, unacceptable, in my opinion. I know I saw a lot of people on X complaining, on Facebook complaining. They wanted to see Larson drive, even if it wasn't for the whole race. It's just, to me, it was a bad call on NASCAR's part. I know this is where I opened up the show, but NASCAR screwed the pooch this week. And again, it's a crown jewel race. We should get the whole race one way or another. If that means you got to pause it and pick it up the next day, fine. Like IndyCar does that for the 500. If it rains out, they just move it to the next day. And actually, before it's rained out on the Sunday, they had to rain out on the Monday, and they had to run the thing on a Tuesday. And that happened in the late 90s or early 2000s, I believe. So it's not like it wasn't an option. It's not like it wasn't an option. I think they need to change the rules. At least 2/3 of a race needs to be done for it to count and be official. And at this race, or the Daytona 500, or the Southern 500, even at the Brickyard, because they're going back to the oval, they're racing the actual Brickyard this year. If that race, those races need to be at least 2/3 of the way done, and I think that should be how it is for every race across the board, especially these are the same rules they have for the playoffs. That's absolute crock. Now, I said my piece. You can tell me where I'm wrong, Aaron.
Nah, you pretty much hit it spot on. I thought they were going to do it on today, since it's still Monday, just because, like you said, people are off. You can resume it at around 12, 1 o'clock if you really wanted to. But yeah, I don't agree that it wasn't even halfway through. I think they just didn't want to be there anymore, which is kind of weird. But again, I just feel bad for the fans just because they paid all that money to watch it. They didn't even watch a full race.
Well, think how much more money they would have if they would have picked the race up today. Think about how much more money they would have grossed from beer and food.
Exactly. NASCAR still would have made a killing.
Yeah.
But pretty much all those
beer.
fans would probably be there for today, as you can see right here in our background. They would be
I guess
there.
if they were in California, that'd be a little different, or if they were in Arizona or something, be different. But they were in Charlotte.
Pretty
Damn
much
near
like
every single
the
team is
home
based out of
mothership
Charlotte.
of NASCAR.
Like, it would have been no big deal. You guys could have given everybody the day and finished it tonight.
Exactly.
And still kept the lights on and made it a night race because that's where the cars were at and set up. I mean, you had options. NASCAR, you screwed the pooch. And I'm not afraid to tell you, you screwed the pooch on this one. And I'm upset about it. Please make a change. Make it better for the fans. Because we all look forward to this race and we did not get what we were waiting for or what we were hyped up to see. Now, all right, I'm done. I'll move on. I'm sorry. You guys have heard me say it now 3 times. My apologies. Let's get through the finishing. We had Christopher Bell wins the race. Keselowski second. Byron finishes third. Reddick gets all the way back to 4th for the finish.
Insane.
Denny Hamlin 5th. Ty Gibbs in 6th. Chase Elliott 7th. Ross Chastain 8th. Alex Bowman 9th. Josh Berry gets 10th. Bubba Wallace somehow falls to 11th. Martin Truex Jr.
again, his third at one point. Third, fourth. He just dropped.
It happens. Allgaier ends up finishing 13th because Larson never got in the car. Logano 14th, Kyle Busch 15th, McDowell 16th, Gilliland 17th. Again, another top 20 for him. Hemrick up at 18th quietly. Eric Jones 19th, Cindric in 20th, Hocevar in 21st, Justin Haley, another part-time driver, 22nd, Chris Buescher 23rd, Suarez 24th, Briscoe 25th, Priest 26th, Austin Dillon again, not even in the top 25. He finishes in 27th. Shane Van Gisbergen. I've been saying his name wrong the whole time. It's Van Gisbergen, finishes 28th. Jimmy Johnson, 29th. John Hunter Nemechek, 30th. Stenhouse Jr., 31st. Harrison Burton, 32nd. Zane Smith, 33rd. Kaz Grala, 34th. Corey LaJoie with more bad luck at 35th. Ty Dillon, 36th. BJ McLeod, 37th. Noah Gragson, 38th. Ryan Blaney, the defending champ, finishes 39th. And JJ Yaley finishes 40th. And I don't even know how Yaley finished 40th because we didn't even have him involved in the accident. He must have had some mechanical issues that I didn't even see in the recap.
I didn't even know he was racing. I didn't even see him.
I didn't either. I mean, like I said, the rain Sunday messed all this up so bad. It threw my schedule out, and then I already had plans today. So I did my best to give you guys enough content.
Yeah, no, again, I said it before the show. I was watching highlight, and then I would catch an hour or two on the TV, and then I caught another hour on Sunday. So just the whole rain just messed everything up for what we're trying to do.
I mean, it really did. I mean, and I thought the rain was going to help us because, I'll be honest with you, man. Once the rain hit Indy, I was like, cool, let's move the 500 to tomorrow. We'll just switch the shows around, and I'll get the Coca-Cola 600 tonight, no big deal, and then I'll watch the 500. And that's not how it ended up going. And because they moved the 500 to the start time at 5 o'clock, it just kind of messed it. That's really what messed everything up. It wasn't even the rain. It's that they got the 500 in yesterday in the evening.
True.
So, I mean, that was it for Charlotte. Again, disappointing. Didn't even make 400 miles. Can't even call it the Coca-Cola 600. We're gonna have the Coke Zero 400 in Daytona in the middle of the summer. I think it's in the middle of summer, early fall. So we're gonna have 2 Coke 400 races, I guess. Disappointing, to say the least. But man, what did you have any other highlights from this race that you wanted to talk about, or
Nothing
anything
really.
going
I
into next
mean,
week?
we kind of covered it for this week just because of the rain. I'm pretty sure something would have happened down the stretch, but we'll never know for this year. But yeah, I don't really have anything else.
All right. Well, next week. Let me see here. Let me get the schedule up. See, there's schedule's not even right on here. Hold on one second. This is an absolute atrocity. It's at Worldwide Technology in Madison, Illinois, which is really, really close to St. Louis. It's called the Enjoy Illinois 300. It's going to be 240 laps, 300 miles. If WWT is a track that the trucks came to and the Xfinity Series comes to, and hell, IRL comes out here and races out here in the year. But NASCAR just came out for the first time last year and forever, or the first time, or last year was the inaugural, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good race. I did watch that one last year, so I kind of know what I'm looking for this year. But it's a different track because 2 of the turns are a lot wider and the other turns are a lot narrower. So it's a little bit of a different track. Every turn's different. You almost have like a downhill and an uphill on the back and the back stretch and the front stretch. So we'll be here next Sunday night, barring no rain and we get no more mess ups, because this whole last 3.5 weeks have been rain crazy for everybody in the Midwest. So we'll see what happens, but plan on being here next week with us. Aaron, are you going to be here next week? Or are you going to, I'm not going to hold you to the fire, but do you think you're going to make it?
Yeah, I will, just because I did not watch this race last year. Last year I didn't watch as many NASCAR races as I wanted to. So yeah, I'll definitely be on for this one.
Fantastic. Yeah, like I said, it's a different track. It's a lot of fun. If you guys didn't watch it last year, make sure you tune in, watch it. It's not a short track, but it's not a super speedway. It's a little flatter too. It's just a different track. It's fun. It's something we don't normally get to see anymore. So we'll be back here next Sunday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 on the East, 7 out there on the West. And if you're in the weird time zone in the middle, it's 8 o'clock. So thanks everybody for coming in. We do appreciate you. Check Aaron out on the 5-hole next Monday night as well. I will be on the 314 show if you're a St. Louis person on Wednesday night, and Thursday night we'll have all of our MLB coverage with the 7th inning stretch. We are going to be covering disappointments so far this season, so there's going to be a long list of them. Darren's going to probably have a good one. Tyler may show up. Who else? We don't know who else is going to show up, but make sure you check out all the other great things Variety Sports Network offers. Check out Rec with Ranger if you like Madden and the video games, the esports, because we're covering that now too. So check out Rec with Ranger. But you guys have a fantastic week. Again, thanks to all of our military families who have made the ultimate sacrifice so we can live the lives we live. You guys take care. Have a blessed week.